Hello Igerim, this is my feedback to your mock listening exam. Now before I get into the paragraphs, your notes are very good, but in the exam we're not assessing the quality of your notes. We're assessing only one thing. How different are the first notes from the final notes? So your notes are different obviously, but it may not be so clear to whoever is grading your exam that the final notes are substantially different. So what you can do, just take very rough, very messy first notes. The very first time you listen to the video, or second time, one of the first times you listen to the video, that's when you should take those first notes. And it's okay to be, for those notes to be not so organized, kind of messy, full of abbreviations, full of symbols, arrows pointing in directions, all kinds of things that would help you to write faster. Because really, imagine you're in a lecture hall, the speaker is talking fast, you cannot write full sentences, you cannot write supporting idea in the margins because you don't know what's a supporting idea and what's not. You only try and reproduce what they are speaking as fast as you can, and you cannot write full sentences. It'll be abbreviations, all kinds of shortened phrases and stuff. So that's what your first note should be. After that, you can sit down and carefully go through everything and then do the supporting ideas, the main idea, evidence and all that, after you've discussed it obviously with your peers. And then you can even type it up, and that will ensure that your final notes are substantially different. Okay, so that's as far as the notes. Now I read your paragraphs, they're very good, all of them. Really good work. You saved the best for last. Let me just point to a few things here. Main idea, fine. I would find a way, claims that is a good reporting verb. I would find a way to expand on this a little bit, right? Try and kind of capture the whole video. So you can say something like, even though it may look like they're procrastinating, original thinkers are actually creating ideas or something like that. Just a little bit more, because really, that's not true that all original thinkers are procrastinators. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that what may look like procrastination is actually a creative process. That's part of the creative process. So I could say something like that, just to make it a little bit more clear to somebody who has not seen the video. Okay? Imagine one good rule of thumb when you write a summary is, would somebody who has not seen the video, would that summary be helpful to them to understand the main ideas of the speaker? Okay. You've used a lot of good cohesive devices, reporting words. There's no problem with this summary. Very good summary. I just wanted to point out here, when you say, moreover, he claims that original people are not first movers because they spend time on analysis. Again, for somebody who has not seen the video, it's not very clear what we're talking about. What are these first movers? What kind of analysis? So you should spend a little bit more. And you do have, 40 more words. So you can explain here a little bit more. He's talking about, for instance, kind of like innovators. Remember when we were doing the innovation unit? So they're not necessarily first to create a product or a service. They sometimes wait to see what's available on the market and then they make improvements. So now we understand what these movers are and what this analysis is, because this could be anything, right? Out of context, it's not very clear. It's clear to me because I've seen the video, but again, somebody who hasn't seen the video, they may not know what this is. So you just need to expand this a little bit. Okay. Everything else is quite clear. I'm not finding any problems, so very good work. Now, in the exam, you're not going to write one continuous page like that. You will type here, you put a space bar, and then you will say identification paragraph. You see? And then you will write you write the identification paragraph. Okay, I'm going to, sorry. I don't think you need the space. Yeah. And then here you can write summary right at the beginning. You see? So that it's very clear what this is. And obviously at the end here, you will include another, before this first line, obviously you will include another title, which would be evidence paragraph or evidence evaluation, whatever you want to call it. But it should be 3 separate texts. It's in one document, but it's not continuous text like that, okay? So do that for the exam. Now, your identification paragraph is quite good. You have identified the supporting idea and then the examples. That's fine, no problem here. That's exactly what you need to do in the exam. Now let's look at this one. The evidence is not sufficient, okay? He cited, okay, only 2 artists and cultural figures as evidence. Sure, as we know, there are, not here, but there are a lot of other fields of art, for example, actors and writers. Sure. Not only are there a lot of other fields of art, there are a lot of other areas for creativity. You know, there's business, there's all kinds of things, engineering. Okay, so it's not enough. Moreover, creativity is used not only in order to create art or speech, but is used to carry out. Sure. Okay. Yeah, okay. I would say you're spending too many words on this. The idea is clear here. Try to be more economical in what you say. Just say the author gives example only from Martin Luther King and Leonardo da Vinci are not. It's not sufficient to give to only 2 examples. There are, and now only in 1 sentence. There are many other fields of many other artistic fields and many other areas of research for creativity, where creativity can be used, such as blah 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 blah. That's it. So you should really try and economize on the words. The idea is good, but there's a little bit of repetition here. It's a little bit too many words here. Okay. Now, if you say that, if you spend maybe this much space on your idea, right, then you will have the rest of the space, and that will strengthen your paragraph to mention what the speaker could have included. So after you've said this idea in about this much space, then you will say the speaker could have included more specific data, more surveys, more blah blah blah, meta-analysis or whatever, you see? Directly pointing to, directly supporting here the correlation between procrastinating time and creativity, right? So it's very good to say, if you're saying it's not sufficient, then you can say what he should have included, right? So that's why it's important when you say your ideas to say them very briefly, you see, because this is just a lot of space wasted only for one basic idea. You should add, he could have included this and that, which directly proves the connection between this and that, something like that. Okay, so that's efficiency. Okay, now let's look at the relevance. Sure, you could say that he didn't report if there was a deadline, but that's kind of silly. I mean, you know, Leonardo had a deadline. That's a little bit weird. I get your idea. I think you could look at it more broadly. Martin Luther King started to prepare his speech for the stage performance. We don't know when exactly. Yeah, okay, sure. But even if we knew when Martin Luther King started to prepare his speech, what would that prove? Even if, let's say, Martin Luther King was a procrastinator, okay, fine. That does not necessarily mean that the data is relevant. Even if Leonardo da Vinci had a deadline and we know the deadline, that still is not going to prove that it's relevant. So if you attack the relevance from a sort of a broader perspective, I think that will strengthen your paragraph. So what can you say? Why are these two examples not so relevant? Well, one thing you can say, Martin Luther King and Leonardo da Vinci. First of all, Martin Luther King's is not even a project. It's just a speech. Second of all, one speech does not necessarily prove that he is a procrastinator. And third, even if he is a procrastinator, that doesn't mean that applies to the creative process of engineers and business people, business managers today. You can say these are outdated examples and so they're not relevant. Something a little bit broader, right? But I will take your explanation, and it's a very good thing that you're trying to include an explanation. That's exactly what you should do in the exam. You should say why. So it's good that you tried. Finally, the evidence is partially representative because the speaker reports how much time they spent painting his picture and write his speech. Here, again, you could think of it. The speaker does not represent statistical data on what time people spent. All of this could be very good for your first section, for the sufficiency. Now, here again, you could attack the representativeness a little bit more broadly. So when we talk about representativeness, we usually ask, are the examples given typical? Is Leonardo da Vinci and Martin Luther King, are they typical examples of the creative process? And you can say that's not necessarily the case. Let's go back to the supporting idea. Procrastinating is a benefit for creativity. The author has not shown clearly that these two examples are typical examples of the creative process, right? Maybe more like you're saying here at the end. Statistical data, maybe a study or a survey or more concrete evidence could have been used to prove that procrastination is valuable for creativity. And not only that, but to prove that most creative thinkers, engineers, and business managers do indeed procrastinate. We're not sure if Leonardo and Martin Luther King are typical representative examples of the creative process. Something like that. Okay? Here, people is just very general. We're talking about obviously original thinkers, right? We've done very well here. Original thinkers. I like the way you use that. You don't use his phrase. You only used it once. And originals is a very, very quirky usage. So anyways. But again, I would accept what you're saying here. I like your idea about the time spent. So overall, these are actually quite good, all the 3 paragraphs. So just do that on the exam and you should be in very good shape. Okay? Good luck, Aigerim. All the best.